The Nintendo Switch OLED model. Anticlimactic? Maybe? So after years and years and years of rampant speculation about a Pro Switch model, of leaks about Nintendo buying all these OLED panels from an OLED panel manufacturer, and all this discussion and supposed leaks about Nintendo using Tegra X2, or maybe even a new custom Tegra from NVIDIA based on their Turing or even Ampere graphics architectures, and potentially not only reaching PlayStation 4 or Xbox One quality level of performance, but with DLSS enhancements so Nintendo could theoretically have their games in 1440p or 4K with very, very little computational cost. And what did Nintendo finally give us after so much rumors and speculation and theory crafting around to developing a new Switch? An OLED screen that's an inch bigger, upgraded speakers, and a new dock with a LAN port. $350 US, please. Now, for $350 US, I actually think that compared to the Switch's current price of $300, then yeah, you might as well just get an OLED model if you don't have a Switch already. It's got a much better screen that I think is worth more than the $50 upgrade, and plus it comes with all those extra little features and stuff. Then yeah, it's a no-brainer if it's your first time getting a Switch. Now, at least for me, I wasn't really disappointed in this announcement. I mean, the price to me seems pretty fair over a standard Switch, and I think the upgrade, at least for handheld, is actually pretty decent because, like, I think Switch games look pretty amazing on the current 6-inch screen, and so expanding it out like another inch, removing those bezels, and then giving you a higher quality screen so those black colors could really, really pop, just chef's kiss, mwah. Although, to be fair, I had my expectations set pretty low from, like, predictions I had made 2 years ago that I think inadvertently called what this Pro Switch was gonna be. So about 2 years ago, I made a video called "The Tegra X2 is not good enough for Switch Pro," or something along those lines. And the too long didn't watch version of that was, I argued that NVIDIA's next Tegra SoC in line, potentially used for an upgraded Switch, was not enough of a jump to provide a satisfactory enough upgrade compared to what the current Switch was, even if you assumed perfect scaling of the games utilizing all that new graphics power. And I guess people at Nintendo had a similar train of thought that I did, because they literally came out to The Verge and said there's no SoC upgrade and there's no RAM upgrade in the OLED model. Guys, admit it, the Switch Pro dream is dead. Heck, maybe Nintendo even wanted to do a Switch Pro at some point, but maybe when they saw the PlayStation 5 and the Series X could play their previous consoles backwards compatible and better upgraded compared to the PS4 Pro and the One X, Nintendo maybe saw the writing on the wall that, hey, maybe mid-gen upgrades are a bad idea, and just decided to not go through with that. And maybe they made the right call, because the PS4 Pro and the One X now are kind of like almost paperweights. Nobody really wants these consoles because the PS5 and the Series X can do exactly what they do, but also play new games. But they're still more expensive than their base console versions. And so they're kind of in this weird limbo in the consumer space. And on the developer end, you have to think about, they still have to make versions of their games for these mid-gen upgrades. And that's a lot of development time and resources and engineering they have to spend on consoles that nobody really wants anymore, and Sony and Microsoft aren't even selling anymore. So I think maybe Nintendo made the right call by not giving a mid-gen spec bump to the Switch OLED model. I think the only hope for a potential performance increase for the Switch OLED model is if Nintendo specifically die shrinks the Tegra X1 again to an even smaller process as a way to offset whatever battery life loss will be caused by all those self-illuminating pixels on the OLED display needing all of that power. And so, by accident, Nintendo gives a little bit more like overclocking headroom to all of these like custom firmware Switch overclockers. But Nintendo's not gonna directly give that performance benefit to the end user. Although with the current silicon shortage, I doubt that that might even happen. Actually, speaking of the silicon shortage, I can't help but be a little bit suspicious about the OLED model's pricing, because it seems like way too good of a deal for like Nintendo hardware. Because Nintendo tends to give you like linear like price to like performance or like just quality of life improvements up their product stack of SKUs, or like worse than that. And so for Nintendo to give you like a pretty incredible OLED quality screen and not charge $100 more compared to the base Switch makes me like really suspicious about what their true intentions are. But instead of doing the sensible thing and like price cutting the current Switch and just having the OLED one just sit at the top of the product stack, this sounds to me more like Nintendo is gonna phase out the old Switch and then have the OLED model be the new like current dockable Switch. And to me, that sounds very much like a tactic that NVIDIA has been using for their GPUs, where they basically have been introducing new models and then phasing out the old ones as a way to take advantage of the silicon shortage and their ability to jack up prices. Look at the 3080 Ti and what I presume is going to happen with the 3080.
The RTX 3080 Ti is a powerful GPU.
We need to stress that this uses 110 watts
And so I can't help but feel that rather than Nintendo just introducing new SKUs to the product stack, that this is their way to sneakily price bump the Nintendo Switch. That, yeah, it might be a little bit more expensive to produce because of the OLED screen and the upgraded speakers and the LAN port, but guys, it's been 4.5 years. The Nintendo Switch should be pretty damn cheap to produce right now. And so this might be Nintendo's way of taking advantage of the silicon shortage. Now, is it nearly as bad as what GPU add-in board partners are doing to GPUs, where they're like charging double or triple what they actually should be? Like, obviously not. But at the same time though, Nintendo's volume is much bigger than your average GPU add-in board partner. So a $50 price bump might not be too bad on the consumer end. That $50 is gonna be like a pretty fat margin considering how many millions upon millions upon millions of these OLED models they're gonna be selling over the next couple years. So anyways guys, that's it for the video, and have a good day.